What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So we made it to December, another window shopping episode. We do this every month. Basically, if you are new to the channel, don't know what this is all about, we look at the central market and I talk about notable item trends, whether it's going up, down, maybe you're thinking about buying something versus enhancing it. We talk about those things as well. And overall, just things to enhance for potential profit, all that good stuff. So it's always fun to check out the central market, every month and just see what kind of things are going up and down. We're just going to talk about the notable items more or less and items that I think are worth talking about. So with that said, let's go down the list as usual. If you are trying to see some of the other videos like November's, October's, and so on, playlist in the description, check that out. Anyway, let's start with Blackstars because there are still people at that range, either going for your first or second Blackstar. Chances are most people are going for your second Blackstar because the game gives you like two of them just playing the game naturally. And then there are some people going for Sovereign Weapons, which require two of them. So, always good to talk about. Everything else that's, not a Blackstar these days, kind of irrelevant, but it is what it is. Oh, that was main hand. I was about to buy that too. Anyway, Tet and Pen. So I would say for most people at endgame, if you are thinking about buying a Blackstar, I would probably just recommend buying it if you're converting to Sovereign. But if you're trying to go for fail stacks, it's always good to just enhance these, like raw tap them to pen, get the fail stacks, build your like 350, 400 stack, and then eventually with the pity system, you end up with a decent stack, and you sell the Blackstar. You do lose money, obviously, but you're building stacks in the process, so that's always nice. Yeah, it's one of those things. So, let me hold on. Let me see something. I don't think it's worth it, but let me just live check this. 65 going down. Main. Are there any others that are? Okay, yeah, that's not worth it. Never mind. I was gonna do that, like literally what I told you, but then I don't know if I'm gonna like fail stack on something. I'm trying to get more out of it. But anyway, if you need that, try to buy it at like Pry or something and so on. Main hand's generally not worth as much as Awakening and sub weapons, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, okay, so let's see. Same thing with sub weapons, Awakening. Same theory, but they cost more. So slightly higher, around 2 billion more, which ultimately tax eats that up anyway, so not a big deal. Then that one at 12. So yeah, what we just looked at, if you were going to enhance for profit and just build fail stacks or enhance for profit, it should be the sub weapon, simply because these are worth more. But the reason why these are higher is the sub-weapon Sovereign came out the latest, and then that one is, I guess, the newest one, even though it's like a year old at this point. Well, not really a year, a couple months. And, yeah, people still are going for these more. So we went from 60 billion from main hand, 62 billion from Awakening, and then 65 for sub weapon. So technically it's more. Realistically, it's gonna get eaten through taxes, but I mean, you still make more. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about armors. In 2025 going into 2026, the only armors that really matter if you are a PvEer is basically Fallen God, and like getting your Fallen God to Tet, and then going forward with Edania gear. So, okay, let's talk about this. The price has gone up and down, and let's see. Tries are currently under 40 billion, which if we looked at last month, you know, is kind of the same. The graph looks like it's going down, which it is, but realistically, you know, like it's been going up and down, and probably like 1 billion, 2 billion cheaper now, which is, it's nice, but it's not a big change what you'd think this might be. You know that Stonks meme? It's not that, so. And then try to Tet is 185, and then everyone should just ignore obliterating because Edania armor is out now. All right, so what would I recommend for all of you guys to do? If you are at that stage in the game, you could probably just buy a try, and then I would recommend self-enhancing it to Tet because that price range is a lot higher. Back in the day, you could just buy it and then self-enhance it. With the one free one that they give you, or do the, what is it, the Fugar quest, where you just get your deck Tuvala armor in exchange, I would just recommend buying it at try and self-enhancing the Tet. But if you were going to self-enhance it from the beginning all the way yourself, what I would recommend doing is probably at least starting at like Duo, because the price is roughly the same. And then Duo to try, use like a 150 plus stack. Try to Tet, use like a 245 plus. Nowadays, you could probably go upwards around like 280, 290 stack, just because this item is pretty expensive, and for like mid-range geared players, saving up 200 billion is kind of tough. Like, well, it's not tough, it's just very time consuming. So yeah, I'd recommend enhancing it. I guess on average these days, you can get it cheaper. So let's see, you see these things right here? These, if you can get them, are a little bit cheaper than full out vendor Krogdalo stones. And these essentially do the same thing. Like, you use this to enhance your try armor and then to Tet, but it's a little bit cheaper. And then, you know, the way you could get them, it's not like you could buy them in abundance, but just get like 50 of them. The magical shard price might be the problem, which, you know, kind of eats it, but, you know, it depends on the server you're on, depending on the price. So just make sure to calculate Krogdalo stone cost in that one, and then you'll see which one's better. All right, so for all of you out there that are doing anything else, none of these are worth it. Black stars are a bait for new players. This wasn't ever really good, even at launch, but, you know, it looks cool. Maybe one day they'll do something with it and make it so, you know how in other MMOs they have like transmog, or like you use the item and then it gives you the skin for that permanently, so it's like customization for everything. So I think that would be cool, but until then, the only thing that matters is Deboreka or like Fallen God armors into Edania. All right, while we're at it, let's talk about Manos clothes and everything, just because life skillers do exist. I know we forget that they do, but the life skills that are important right now, probably sailing, because Blue Battlefield came out recently and people are trying that, so people are probably getting into sailing. Higher mastery for sailing means, you know, your boat goes faster. That's good. So chances are, if you can get one at least Tet, that's good. Yep, price went up because Blue Battlefield boat PvP came out, and that's pretty awesome. Hunting is low-key good money. It does require a little bit of investment, but if you can at least get a Tet Manos clothes, you could at least get to Artisan Matchlock and then go from there. But nowadays, it's pretty good too. This is probably at least a basic entry level, getting like a try or Tet to start doing hunting and doing it, you know, efficiently from beginner. Cooking is probably always good. Same with alchemy. Fishing, same. Fishing will pay itself off in like a month. So like, let's say you're thinking, oh, this is 45 billion silver, should I buy one? Assuming you fish, you know, a good chunk of time every month, this will pay itself off in probably a month. And then you're just like, oh, cool, now I have a free pen. Well, not free, but you know what I mean. But yeah, Gathering, always good if you do gather. How long will it take to pay this one off? Probably about a month as well, in my opinion. The ones that don't really pay themselves off are like crafting. That's about it. Everything else will eventually, but I think the craftsman one, I feel like this one should be buffed a little bit. It should give you weight limit, because you're like, chances are if you're processing, you're doing it AFK or like checking in every 15-20 minutes, it should give you extra weight. So that's what I think would make it a lot better. But until then, if you can get like a try or tet, you're doing fine. None of these are relevant. All right, accessories. We're going to talk about Preonne, Deboreka, and again, it doesn't. Manos is kind of falling out of relevance because you get try or tet, or well, try, tet, pen, Manos, and then convert them to Preonne. So let's talk about Deboreka's because those are important. Every Debo accessory is going down in price as the months goes on because they raised the drop rate at the end game grind spots and people are just getting them nowadays. They used to be okay to enhance their profit, but then if you look at like this thing, like this was one thing that was always pretty decent profit. Right now it's at like its all-time low and it's not really worth enhancing. These used to be last month around 10 billion each and it was profit. But realistically, if you're not one-tapping it, trust me, I used to enhance these for profit from maybe sometimes selling tries, sometimes selling tets. It was decent profit, and then people figured it out. I also have the ring now, but so I make more. But anyway, yeah, every month this goes on. These are starting to be less and less profit. If you're getting these because you need it, and let's say you're enhancing it to get your own Carracks gear, the first thing you should go for is Deboreka's because these are at an all-time low in price, and it also gives the most stats. So if you look over here, just in general across the board, the necklace will give the most stats, like the most AP, whereas everything else is a little bit less. So in priority order, what you should do is necklace followed by either belt or rings, whichever one is cheaper in Debos if you're buying it. And then earrings are the last ones because they give the least amount, and you use the same fail stacks across the board for all accessories. Yeah, earrings are the ones you do last because they give the least amount of stats and also the most expensive. So it's kind of, you know, opposite and doesn't make sense, but okay. With that said, going into Preonne, all of you life skillers out there, if you don't know how it works, if you have a try Manos accessory, you can exchange it for a base Preonne. If you have a tet, it exchanges for a try. And then if you have a pen, it exchanges for an oct. Obviously, the oct is pretty good because you don't have to, you know, go through the pain and suffering to get there. So, yeah. It's actually very surprising that deck Preonne is, you know, 400 billion. If I were to guess how much it would really cost, it's probably above 500 billion, maybe 700. I could have bought one if I didn't fail 116 times on this Oct going for Nav. That's funny, right? You know how enhancing works. And then for all the other accessories, realistically, there's only two routes you go. Debo into Carracks or Preonne if you're a life skiller. All right, so let's talk about artifacts and Lightstones. These are the ones that matter for PvEers, and then these Dekia ones are for PvPers. Most people will probably go for the all damage reduction ones. I have them myself. I have both sets of them. I actually have 2 DRs and then 1 evasion. But if you don't PvP, these are literally irrelevant. All you need is Kabuas for like 3, maybe 4 sets if you are endgame. But realistically, you could probably get away with like 2 full sets of Kabuas and you'll be good. So what are the notable Lightstones we're talking about? We have a lot of amplified ones nowadays. So if you haven't played the game in a while, you know how there's Lightstones. Now, just amplified ones, you get those by crafting it with the Edania fragments, and they basically just give a small boost, which is always good. Twisted for the Edania ones, always a good choice. Strikes, actually, surprisingly, if you were to try to get a strike, but like you want to upgrade it, just buy the one directly, because the fragments you need to amplify it, you have to grind out those because they still don't sell on the market. So just to show you what they look like, these are the crystallized end times, and then you combine like 30 of these plus a bunch of other materials plus the Lightstone itself to combine it. It's a lot of end game stuff, so I'd recommend just buying it for anyone that's not at that point yet. Yeah, aside from that, those are the ones that really matter. Strike, Twisted, and then anything for Vicious Shadows or target openings, which I'll just show you right now. I have a video dedicated to this one, so if you care, I'll leave it in the description to talk about all of these in more detail. Target openings, Vicious Shadows, full-on species for Edania, and then everything else is mostly life skills and, you know, people who aren't at endgame, Death Blow for dosas, and then all-out attack for, you know, every, like, budget nowadays. All right, let's see. The price of a lot of things has gone up and down lately. Origins, this one is a fun one to follow, especially for all of you endgame players. Remember when these were like almost 2 bill each and now they're sinking back down to minimum? It's because most people have their Edania armors at like pen nowadays, and you get what? Usually between 2 to 5 Edania fragments a week, depending on your gear. And most people are already at the point where it's getting difficult to enhance it. That's why it's going down in price. But yeah, for all of you who aren't there yet, this is good for people who actually need them, building up 300 stacks and so on. Like myself, we're like, I still need them. I will always need them, but I don't need them as much anymore. Just once you get to pen armors, that's when things get kind of tough. Like pen to hex, around like a 6 to 10%, depending on the stack, like 300 to 400. It's kind of annoying, actually, but that's why we talked about the Blackstar enhancing and so on. Essence of Dawn, if you were looking for these for enhancing your Carracks yourself, the best day to buy them is Saturday after reset, because that's when we get our weekly boss shrine rewards, and then people are just listing them at minimum. So if you need them, just try to save up your silver and buy them all on Saturday at minimum price. Yep, that's how you do it. Everything else is, you know, the same. Sharps have went down in price over the past month because last month we had a huge life skill event, and that was when they were all maxed out, and then now it's just like stabilizing at around 3 point something, you know, 3 to 4 million each. So it's down, but it's not the worst I've ever seen them. Memfrags will forever be at like, you know, some weird price. As long as Pearl Abyss keeps doing gamble boxes or the Pearl Shop ones that give you a bunch of memory fragments, these will never go back to 6 million each again, or 5 million, whatever they are. So, yeah, this one is very dependent on, does Pearl Abyss keep sending out gamble boxes every week in the Pearl Shop? If yes, this will stay at this price pretty much forever. All right, so next thing we're going to talk about is life tools. We talked about this in my life skill video. I think the expensive ones these days are probably Fluid Collector. And if you are gathering for XP, this one's expensive. And then everything else is probably, yeah, like not as expensive, but, you know, it's very specific usage for everything. But if I were to guess, Butcher Knife and Fluid Collecting, ones that are most expensive, followed by Hoe, and then the rest of them are, you know, you're getting it because you are going for something in particular, not necessarily max silver. So, yeah, if you want the most silver, Flute collecting, butcher knife. That's what I would probably assume. Let's see, what else are we talking about? Alchemy Stones. They're gonna probably talk about this at the Calpheon Ball in like 2 weeks or something. You know how we were going to get a Alchemy Stone rework in like August and then they delayed it? Yeah, they're probably gonna talk about it in a couple weeks. We don't really know too much aside from what they announced last time. But basically, Alchemy Stones are going to be Cronstoneable. So, like, you know, they just don't downgrade. That's good, actually. And there's probably going to be some sort of combination. So for everyone trying to get, like, a Splendid or something, there's probably a chance that you can get these, you know, with Cronstones or some sort of combination. How much that's going to cost, I have no idea, but I hope it's not too crazy. Everyone else out there who is looking for a Vel's Heart, best thing I'd recommend is putting your order onto Concentrated, not necessarily the heart itself, because when people get the drops from Vel, they're just going to sell the thing on the market, not turn it into a Vel. So put the order on the Concentrated. I don't even... yeah, this thingy. They're both on order, and crafting it costs more. So just put in your order on this one and hope for the best. That's the best I can tell you, because it's been like, what, 5 years since Vel came out, and people still need it infinitely, and Pearl Abyss has not done anything about it. It is what it is. Blame them. All right, so I think that's mostly it. Everything else is, we'll just talk about some niche things. So for everyone who has the Krogdalo horse, or your goal is to get the Krogdalo, which is basically you get the Sanctuary, right? Let me just show you. You get the Sanctuary, you get your 3 horses, right? Then you go to Marandora, I believe that's the NPC, or some other one down in Kama Sylvia. And then they just give you the Krogdalo horse, which is an all 3-in-1. It does everything. It's actually very nice to have. I wish it goes into the Sanctuary, but, you know, it is what it is. And people who are looking to get gear for that, what I'd recommend is probably just, let me show you what gear I have. All right. So once you get the Krogdalo, the gear itself is irrelevant. Whether you have the wind, earth, or the water one, they all give a 3-in-1 buff. So you know how the buff would be like here, it gives you a certain one. With Krogdalo, the 4th thing on the tooltip, it says it gives you all of them in one. So it doesn't matter which one you pick anymore once you get to Krogdalo. Let me show you what it looks like. Yeah, so you get the earth, wind, and ocean. So all 3-in-1. It's actually really nice. Yeah, it's bonus. So just pick one. Here's what I'd recommend to all of you guys. If you are going for them and you don't know which one, so like you need a bunch of all of these, I would probably just pick wind because it's probably the easiest one to grind out. Down in Grana, the best way to get them, you could probably get like 200 in a couple hours. Go down to Old Wisdom Tree, down in the Navern Steppe area. Go the like bird enemies, you just gather them, and then you actually get a lot of them. So if you can't buy them off the market and you're trying to get them yourself, that's where I'd recommend doing it. That's where I did it too, back in the day when I was going for infinite potions. And with that said, ships, obviously, Blue Battlefield is out. Probably the most expensive one is probably going to be the Valor, simply because this one is the PvP boat. It does the most damage, and well, like a cannon speed reload is faster. So this is the PvP boat. Volanti is also a good one. Advance is more PvE, so for bartering and weight limit, and balance is just not good. So it's like it doesn't do anything, like it doesn't excel at anything, whereas Valor is, you know, PvP damage boat. Volanti is the speed boat. You go faster than the other ones. Advance is, you know, more weight limit, so bartering is better, and balance doesn't do anything. So, you know, pick one of the other 3 and in a balance if you are just a collector and get the 4th one. I personally have the Valor. I love it. I've been waiting years for Blue Battlefield and it's still being tweaked. I don't know. They just kind of launched it in such a terrible state. It's like you can't even merc out into a guild that does Blue Battlefield. And I'm like, oh, okay. Why? But anyway, yep, that's everything. And once again, I will forever talk about this. If you are one of those people that buys a bunch of these blessings, I'm just going to give you an alternative way to get this cheaper. See how these are 60 mil each for 1 hour? Let me show you something else. You could buy... Where is it? This thingy. It gives 15 AP for 3 hours for 200 mil. So let's talk about this in hour usages for the amount of silver. So you get a total of 30 hours, 3 hour buff, and you could use it 10 times. There's 30 hours for 200 mil. Let's just make that number easier. If you are going for the blessing of all AP, if you were to buy 30 of these, that's 600, or, well, 600 for 10 times 30. So that's 1.8 billion versus 200 million. The downside is, like, you have to put it in the house to use it, whereas these blessings are kind of just like convenience. And like, you may not think 60 million is a lot, but if you grind a lot, it does add up over time. So I'd recommend, here's what I'd recommend to all of you guys. If you grind Edania, which doesn't have any houses, I would just go to something close by. This is what I do personally. Get a house somewhere in Heidel, right? Like this one, this is my house for buffs. And then just get your buff somewhere and then take the well down to Edania. And so, you have a 3 hour buff. It takes about, 2 minutes, maybe less to get to your grind spot in Edania. If you're in any other town, it's even less. This is my other house for all the buffs as well. All the years I've been playing. And we're going to get another one this month, chances are. So, yeah. Just get a house. Get the 3 hour buff. It will save you so much silver over time. Another thing you could do is also, if you are in a guild, you could take those things and then put them into the guild hall. So let me just show you. Guild storage. You see these? How these are guild ones? These function the same way. Except you can go to the guild hall from anywhere. So if your guild does that, it functions the same thing and it's cheaper. So someone has to do it. If you do hunting, or even just buy one, like buy one off the market, turn it into the guild version, put it in the guild hall, and then use it from anywhere, and it's functionally still cheaper. So yeah, I would say if I have these just in case of emergencies and I forget, and these are really just convenience. But if you do take the extra minute and not do that, you save so much silver over time. Like 60 mil per hour doesn't seem like a lot. Multiply that by like the number of hours over a year or something, and that's just a lot of extra silver you could use for anything else. So with that said, I think I've covered about everything that is notable, and we'll see what happens throughout the Calpheon Ball. Whenever they talk about upcoming changes, we'll be discussing that as well. But until then, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you guys come back. December is one of the biggest months for content creators. A lot of things are happening, not a lot of new releases, and also, a lot of stuff, just comes out in general Q4. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.